Okay, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. This webinar is intended to give you some instructions about the new performance rating calculator that was released in 2019 and is the current calculator that is used to project all performance scores, both for sites and for networks. I want to go over a couple things about the calculator before we dive in. Then I'm going to show you how to use the calculator. And then lastly, I want to look at a new function in the portal to let you pull rosters directly from there, so you're not depending upon us. So first off, the old calculator that we had posted online and that many of you all are used to is no longer going to be used. That calculator will not work with these new reports. And that's for a couple of reasons. For one, it was not compatible with infant scores, which everyone knows are going to start being put into the portal for everybody beginning fall of 2019. And then by fall of 2020, those will have accountability implications. And so we wanted to go ahead and get ahead of the curve on that and give you a calculator that lets you see what infant scores would be. And then second, because you can now pull these reports from the portal, there's a little bit of functionality issues between those reports and the old calculator. And so we're going to have to be using this new calculator moving forward. All of the old reports that you have in your FTP will not work with this new calculator. However, all of those reports are able to be pulled from the portal now. And so you're not going to lose any of that information, but you will have to go into the class portal and pull that old data if for some reason you do want to go back and look at those old scores. We are more than happy to assist you with any of that during this transition, but suffice to say, all that information is accessible. And if you have any trouble with getting it from the class portal, please just let us know. All right, so let me show you where to find the new calculator, and then let's dive right into using it. So if you're on the Louisiana Believes website, of course, you'll go right here to early childhood, and you'll scroll down along the left-hand side until you see performance profiles. Click that, and then you're going to have a lot of information about performance profiles overall. You can scroll down here where it says performance profile guidance for sites. You're going to go to the second bullet right here. For sites that want to learn more about how the rating is calculated, the department has released a performance rating calculator with instructions. And so this is where the calculator lives. When you click on this link, it will automatically download the calculator. Just a fair warning, depending on your Wi-Fi speed and the speed of your computer, sometimes this takes a second to pop up. And so don't double click it too many times. You'll just end up downloading multiple ones and it can slow things down. Likewise, whenever you open this up, it can take it a second to load because it's a really big file. So we're just going to give it a couple seconds to load, and then I'll show you what we can do with it. All right, so here we are. So right off the bat, I want you to notice there are 4 tabs to this calculator, and I'm going to be clicking between these. And so there's not just one menu, but there are actually 4. This first tab is an informational tab that gives you a very detailed step-by-step path to using this calculator. I'm going to be doing it live with you right now if you're more of a visual learner, but you will always have these directions right here to help you in using it. This second tab, labeled Classroom Data, this is what you're going to be interacting with the most. And this is where you're going to take classroom observational data and you're going to copy and paste it into here. And that is what the calculator is going to use to calculate your scores. We'll come back to these two others once we get some actual data. So that's the calculator for now. Then you would go back to your browser and you want to hop on over to the Early Childhood web portal. Log in, and then go to your reports drop down right here. Many of you all have done this before. You know that there's different reports based upon your user access. We're going to start with looking at the network level. So if you click on your network level reports, got all your old reports, you'll notice there's a new one right here, the Network Community Class Calculator roster. If you click on this, this is going to allow you to generate a report for all of the sites that are in your network. You can select the different years. And don't forget that this is where you can get the older information that was compatible with the old calculator. You can pull all those previous ones, and it's always set to the current year though. And you can toggle between semesters. So if you only want to look at observation data from the fall or from the spring, you can do that. It defaults to both semesters, which is ultimately what's going to be factored into your performance rating. You'll click Run Report. I'm not going to do that right now because I don't want to display actual information. I'm going to give you an example report. But if you click Run Report, it'll generate an Excel file that'll pop up right down here, just like the performance rating calculator did from the Louisiana Believes website. You'll open it, and it should look something like this. So I have blocked out the network code and the site code for privacy reasons. Ordinarily, these columns will be filled and the site codes will be right here. But all we need is the information from column C all the way over to column V. Each of these columns, beginning with column I, are all the different dimensions. And then column C through H give you some information about the actual observation. And so if you wanted to know what your network performance rating will be based upon this report, you'll start here with this first cell. And I usually scroll over first, but you can do it in different ways. But you want to select all of this data. Depending on the size of your network, these files can get really big. So now you've selected all of your information. You want to right click, click copy. And so right now you've got all this information copied. Then you want to go back over to your performance rating calculator. In these columns, you'll notice that the names match up exactly. And you'll right click on this first column and you'll just paste it right in there. And so now you've put all of your information in here. Remember, it should look exactly like that original report that you ran. And now you're ready to see what your projected rating is. So this is where these last two tabs come in. So your first tab is just called performance rating. This rating is showing you right now, based upon current accountability policy, what your rating would be. Functionally, what that means is it does not factor in infant to the final score. So we'll scroll over in a second to see that, but I want to talk you through these dimensions really quickly. So what this is showing you right now is along here, you've got the classroom type. So it's either pre-K, toddler, or infant. Then you have a column that's the domains. And then all of these columns are your dimensions all the way beginning with pre-K positive climate all the way over to early language support for infants. And this is giving you a dimension level average for all of the data that you put in there. In this case, this network would have a 6.13 dimension average for positive climate. Likewise, it would have a 5.9 average for teacher sensitivity. Whatever information that you put in here, that's what this is going to read. And so now you know what your dimension levels are for your entire network. And so you might think, well, this is a bit lower than we'd like it to be. This is definitely lower than we'd like it to be. And so maybe our network needs to focus a little bit more on concept development for pre-K and quality of feedback for toddlers. Remember, the idea behind this calculator is to let you guys be able to see what you're doing in real time and react to it. So anyway, these are your dimension level averages. And if you scroll over, you're going to have your domain performance rating. This column gives you a count of the number of dimensions that are being factored in. So for instance, emotional support, there are 159 emotional support scores for this column. In this case, there's more pre-K classrooms. It's typically expected. Toddlers a little bit lower. And then at this point, for this tab, infants not being included. So if you keep scrolling over, you'll notice that column V is going to give you a performance rating by the domain. And so emotional support for pre-K, this network would be rated high proficient for that. And you keep on going down. And then over here, this is usually what people are looking for. This is going to give you your overall performance rating information. So in total for this network, there were 624 dimensions. The scores for those add up to almost 3,100. Your overall performance score is a 4.97. That converts to a performance rating of proficient, and that converts to a star rating of 3 stars. So this is, again, usually what people are looking for, understandably. But all of this other information gives you a lot of really cool tools on how you would maybe want to improve this overall score. And so if we were able to get this network's quality of feedback up, you would thus see this score begin to raise as well. Now, this second tab is going to give you pretty much all the same information. All of these should be identical, but if you scroll over, you'll notice that now infant is included along here, and infant is included in this final score. In this case, there were enough infant classrooms that actually raised their score just a little bit. I'm sorry, it actually brought it down just a little bit. But this should hopefully give networks and sites the ability to consider what's the quality of our infant care during 2019-2020. And if those scores were to be counted into our overall ratings for the following year, how are we doing with that? Do we need to invest more with infant classrooms? What do we need to do to make sure that when infant classrooms begin to be fully incorporated, that they're doing as well as they can? So that is for the network level information. I'm going to click back here. I'm going to delete all this data out of here because we're about to put in some different data. You always want to be sure that whenever you're putting new information in, that this is all deleted out. Okay, so set this back up so that it's ready whenever you're ready to come back with more data, and then go back into the portal. So we've run a network level report at this point, but you probably would want to know what individual sites are up to and what their ratings would be. So if you go back to your reports, you'll see that there are site level reports that are available. Click on one of those. So these are all your site level reports. A lot of them are just a site level version of a network report. Some are unique. The very last one, just like with networks, is a class calculator roster. If you click on that, you have all the same options available to you. You have your older scores. You have the ability to look at just fall or spring. Of course, when you're ready to run it, you'll click Run Report, and you will get that information. You'll get a file that looks something like this. This should look basically identical to the network level file. There's just going to be fewer because it's only focused on one site. You would take this information, copy and paste it, right where you did your network level information. And now you wind up with a site performance rating. So in this case, this particular site only has pre-K. That's why toddler and infant all have zeros. You scroll over, and right now, this site would be rated a 5.13, which is high proficient, or 4 stars. If they did have infant, this would also give you what their infant scores are, and infant would be factored in to this overall performance rating section. And so the takeaway here is any amount of data that you put in to this tab, you can see, well, what's the rating for this? So you can get creative with this. You might say, well, I want to know what are all my schools that have pre-K programs. How are they doing on average? Or what are all my type 3 centers? How are they doing? Or maybe I just want to focus only on Head Start. How are they doing? So any information that you put into here, it's going to give you a rating for it. Of course, at the end of the day, the only thing that ends up getting published is a network rating and a site level rating. And so those are the two reports that we have available to you. But maybe you wanted to drill down a little bit more. And so now I want to walk you through some different ways that you can get different reports and get different data. So if you are a network and you want to send a site their information, you've got a couple different ways that you can do this. So let's go back to our portal and let's go to our network. So I've added myself to 2 networks right now. Let's say that you're Point Capee. So if you want to go in here and you want to know Upper Point Capee Elementary School, in order to pull information for this site as a network coordinator, you would need to click this button right here and add yourself as a network coordinator. I'm sorry, as a site coordinator. Whatever reports that you pull at the site level, it reads all of the sites that you are a site coordinator for. And so if Christy was going to run a site level report, right now it would include Upper Point Capee Elementary School, and it would include any other sites that she's added to as a site coordinator. This can get a little bit tricky because if you're added to multiple sites and you click that and you only want information for one site, you'll wind up with more than you need. And then if you put the information in, you wind up with a score that really isn't reflective of the site that you wanted to focus on. There are a couple ways that you can work around these limitations. One, you can just add yourself or take yourself out of a site that you don't want information on. So if you're a network coordinator and you don't have yourself added to any of your sites, You can go in, and if you want to know Junior University's Learning Center and Daycare, how they're doing, you can just add yourself to there, go up here, click site level report, and run a site level report, and then you'll have their information. And then you just got to remember that to go back here and take yourself out. I think that this is a fine way to do it. If it's what you're most comfortable with, you should feel free to. If you have any trouble, if you get yourself into a situation where you don't know how to take yourself out, we are, of course, always here to support you. However, what I would recommend you do is what I'm about to show you. So let's pretend that you have run a network level report. It should look something like this. So this is all fake data now. This is not a real network code. These are not real site codes. When you're looking at your network level report, all this is just a bunch of site level reports aggregated together into one big file. And so in theory, you could use this file to take out site level data and put it into the calculator. There's two different ways that I think that you would want to do this. The first way is pretty straightforward. If you go up here to your little magnifying glass on Excel, it says Find and Select, and you click it, you've got the option to click Find, and it'll pop up with this little search box. So let's say that I wanted to know what a site with the site code 123456, what their information is. I would just type in 123456, and I would click Find All. And you'll notice that it puts a little box around the first one that it finds, and it gives you a list of them right here that you can click through. You can click Find Next. It'll keep taking you down the line. You keep clicking, keep clicking, keep clicking. Once it's hit the last one, it will revert you to the first one. So that's one way to narrow down the site code. Then you could just go from here. You could click, drag and drop, copy and paste it into your performance calculator. I, however, think that this is a bit lengthy, and I think that it is prone to error. What I would recommend you do involves a couple more steps. So close out of your Find and Replace and go up here and click your top your top row. So you've selected all of the information in this row. Then go back up to the top right, and instead of clicking on Find and Select, click on Sort and Filter. Get this little drop down and go to the fourth one right here that just says Filter. Click it, and now you'll notice there's a little drop down arrow on each of these columns. What this allows you to do is it allows you to filter based upon certain information in a column. So again, let's say that you wanted to know just the information for site code 123456. You can click on your drop down, and you can click the search and type in 123456. Click OK, and now it has filtered all the other ones out and only given you the one that you searched for. At which point you can now select this data. You can put it over into your performance calculator. Don't forget, as I have now, don't forget to clear this information out. Or you could put it into a new file if you wanted to. So if you wanted to send this information to the site, you could just put it all right here. Be sure that you name it correctly so that nobody gets confused. But that, I think, is the most effective way to break down these reports into site level information without having to add yourself to each site. Alternatively, If you want to work with your site coordinators, they can run a site level report. So let's go back to the example of Upper Point Capee Elementary School. Any of these people who are added as coordinators, so Christy, Myron, and Amanda, they can all run a site level report for this site. And so that's something that we really encourage, is to make sure that all of your site coordinators understand that they can go in and look at their data at any time and have a sense of how they're going to do, or what they would need to make on their next observation to keep their current rating or to improve, or whatever their objective is. A huge part of why we wanted to include these reports is so that lead agencies, so that R&Rs, and so that site users or site level users have all their data in front of them anytime that they want it, and that they can be very dynamic throughout the school year. As many of you all know, the way this has worked traditionally is we drop all the data into your FTP at the end of the observation period, which is useful, particularly in the fall, because it is sort of like a midterm. But it doesn't let you look at something in, say, February or in the middle of November, whenever there's still some observations that have yet to occur, but you want to know how your site or how your network is doing. Okay, so that is the bulk of everything to do with the new reports. I want to end by giving you a couple things to keep in mind. We are still going to be dropping those individual site files into your FTP at the end of each observation period. So if you're concerned about any of this, or if you're having trouble trusting it, and you want to keep things just how they currently are, that is okay. That option will still be available to you. You will continue to use the FTP just like you have in years past. However, you will be dependent upon whenever we put it in there, and most of that data won't really let you react in real time. I've already explained, the idea behind why we want these reports out there, but we'll still be here as a safety net at the end of each observation period, and we, of course, will be here throughout each observation period to assist you with these reports and with the calculator if you have any technical problems. So just as a couple final reminders, remember that if you, as a network coordinator, try to run a site level report, it is going to pull all the data for each site that you're added as a coordinator for. So keep that in mind. And remember, we believe that the best practice for breaking this up for sites is either to have them run their own reports, or for you to take a network level report, add these filters, and then filter based upon the site code that you're looking for. Thank you all very much for tuning in on this. I hope this is helpful. If you have any issues or errors, feel free to reach out to any of us. Of course, my name is Gray, and you can email me at gray, Gray, .whitsett, WHITSETT, at la.gov. If you're more familiar with another team member, you can always contact them and they'll put us in touch. Thank you all very much. Have a great day.